UMP Modified DLC pack also features the Federated Auto Parts Raceway and I-55 and will be available for digital purchase on the PlayStation and Xbox stores this month.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that McConey Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at McConey Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, McConey Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to McConeySetupShop.com and learn why McConey Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at McConey Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Live from virtual Florida, we welcome race fans one and all here to De Leon Springs, where we get set to kick off the season opener of the inaugural Racecraft Outlaws Sprint Car Series at the Volusia Speedway Park. We're happy that you're joining us here on this beautiful Tuesday night. My name is Nolan Rempel. I've got Ian Fisher beside me in the broadcast booth with Joshua Lee down behind the cameras for tonight's presentation, where we are getting set to kick off what should be a very exciting race then here from the Volusia Speedway Park. It has always been known as one of the fastest sprint car tracks you can find out there on iRacing. I think with these 410 sprint cars here tonight, we're going to be seeing that statement ringing oh so true.
Well, they call it the world's fastest dirt track, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what these drivers are going to do this evening. We've got about 12 to 13 drivers coming out tonight, but we have 2 world champions in the field tonight, so that should be really exciting to watch. This half-mile clay speedway on the northeast side of Florida is, like you said, a hall, a mecca to these dirt racing drivers. I'm sure everybody in the field really wants to get it done here today at Volusia.
It's going to be absolutely a field size that is going to be providing an entertaining race. And just because you don't have, these 40-car fields like you might see in the NASCAR Cup Series does not mean you're not going to be having an entertaining race. As here you can see it, Volusia Speedway Park, nestled right into the little bit of woodland out there over near De Leon Springs in Florida. It is a humble little track, and it doesn't look like much from the air, but boy, is this track ever fun to drive. You see that little curve on that back straightaway. That is going to invite these drivers to be full throttle almost the entire way around this half-mile clay oval, and it is only going to get more exciting from here. We kick it off here at Volusia tonight. We'll be swinging on over to the Port Royal Speedway, though, next week, and then we slow it right back down to Fairbury, one of the tightest circuits and one of the shortest circuits we're going to be having here on the season, save, of course, for the Limoland circuit over on March 7th to almost end off the season before we wrap it all up at the Lucas Oil Speedway. But you got yourselves a fast couple of tracks to start it off. Volusia followed up by Port Royal. Port Royal has obviously been known as one of those tracks where you wouldn't be having a good sprint car series without Port Royal on it. And obviously, I think a lot of people are happy that it will be playing host to just the second race on the year.
Oh, yeah, and the rest of the schedule is just jam-packed full of, well, every single track that we have to offer here on the dirt oval surface at iRacing. But I'm really looking forward to when we get to that dirt track out at Charlotte later on in the season, Nolan. That's always a fun place to be. 4 or 5 wide race and sometimes there, but here tonight at Volusia, it's going to be a little bit different. You mentioned that kind of interesting back straightaway shape. Not only that, but this is actually, for a dirt track, this is one of your more narrow track surfaces. So I think passing is going to be at a premium tonight. And if it is going to get done, you're going to have to use the slide job for sure.
It's going to be a tough ride for all of these drivers to get themselves sorted as the night goes along. And you mentioned, of course, passing is going to be difficult. These 410 sprint cars not going to make it easy on these drivers. I think we're going to be seeing that slide job come into play big time over the course of the night. Track has already been worn in pretty well down on the inside line, so we're going to be expecting these drivers to migrate up to the top of the cushion really, really quickly here as we get set to kick off what will be one of, I believe, 2 heat races getting sorted for us here on the night. There was a scheduled maximum 4, but due to the field size, we have lowered that down to 2. I believe we'll be going straight into your feature event after a brief warm-up period from there. 10 laps will be the distance for the 2 heat races on the night, with the top 4 moving on to the feature, although let's be honest, it's going to be everybody moving on to the feature. There's not enough cars, I believe, to warrant the use of the last chance qualifiers, so you'll be having everybody making the 35-lap feature event then here tonight, which again, always something you like to see. It always sucks when you have to eliminate a few of those drivers. You always love it to see when the entire field can duke it on out for 35 laps later on in the event.
You mentioned it, Nolan. Not having to worry about getting through in an LCQ or being eliminated tonight does take some of the pressure off of you as a driver, but these heat races are still going to be vitally important. They're going to set your grid for the feature race. Track position, we mentioned how hard passing is going to be, is at a premium here tonight, so you definitely want to get up there, qualify well, and finish well in your heat races, even though you have no risk of being eliminated before the feature tonight.
Watching Clayton Tilley thunder his way around the racetrack, just finished off his second of 2 qualifying laps for a 12.966. That is just 1,000th of a second off of Ryan Avila in the number 49 car. Alex Bergeron currently holds the provisional pole time of a 12.885. The only driver that has not set a qualifying time is the 67 of Dylan Baldwin. We'll be seeing what Baldwin will be doing throughout the course of the event, as it looks like he's about to take it onto the racetrack for the last car to put in a qualifying effort. At the moment, it's looking about 0.6 of a second separating top to bottom, but with only 12 to 13 second lap times, those 0.6 of a second, that is going to be a huge difference on the racetrack. In these cars, that is the equivalent of up to 3, maybe 4, 5 car lengths.
Oh, not only that, but
I can hear myself on the stream.
Qualifying and being the only car out on the track and being in race pace is definitely going to set these drivers apart. And obviously, with 2 world championship drivers in the field, they're no strangers to racing, especially in a pack. But you do have some newer drivers in here as well that are making their first steps into this dirt oval foray here we have on iRacing. So there's going to be definitely a skill gap there a little bit for some of these drivers. And you mentioned it, it's going to just lead to more pace on the racetrack and maybe some lap traffic for our leaders to have to deal with later on in the race.
Qualifying is complete, so let's take a rundown of how things are going to shake on up for heat race number 1 on the night. 10 laps the distance or 5 minutes, whichever happens to laps first, but with no cautions in these heat races. We're expecting for this race to go by really, really quickly. Alex Bergeron, the pole sitter in heat race number 1, with Clayton Tilley down in second place. Adam Berling going to be sitting down in 3rd, with Aiden Forster in 4th on his outside line on row number 2. Matthew Linda's going to be in 5th, with Vinny Tigner in 6th. Sean Winkler going to bring up the rest of your 7-car field here tonight, then Ian, for heat race number 1. You mentioned, of course, how vital the heat races are going to be, and I think that all it has to do with that is, of course, how hard it is going to be to pass when you get into the 35-lap feature. Passing is absolutely a premium with such a tight racing circuit here tonight. So these heat races are going to be determining where you're going to start, and just like qualifying, they are going to be everything, because once you get through those first couple laps, it's going to make passing that much harder as the field starts to get spread out, and you get trapped in some of that dirty air as we fire away around the half-mile clay oval.
Yeah, you really want to get out to a good start early, especially in the heat race here, this first heat race of the night. But you can also ruin your night really easily here and put yourself in a bad spot that you have to battle out from. So if you're one of these drivers up front, Alex Bergeron, Clayton Tilley, you really just want to go out there and just kind of maintain and get through this heat race cleanly.
Pace truck getting set to roll off for our first of 2 pace laps before we get things underway. Was waiting a little bit on Bergeron there to grid himself on up, but of course these drivers do have those 2 minutes to do so prior to these heat races getting kicked off. But all 7 cars will be making the start. It's going to be 7 cars in both heat races, so 14-car total field is what we're looking set for in the 35-lap feature later on tonight. If we had enough drivers, it would be a top 4 advance, but as we mentioned earlier, drivers not going to have to worry about that in this one. But the heat races do tend to be calmer than the feature event, mostly due to the smaller field size. That being said, though, Volusia can still throw a couple of wild card incidents into the bag here. You want to bet that these drivers might be trying anything desperate here, see what might work and what won't work, so they can have that practice come the feature?
I was just about to say, it does give you a little bit of an opportunity to maybe experiment here in the heat races before you get to the feature race, knowing that worst case scenario, you're still going to make it at the end of the night. But really, I think this first heat race, especially the season here, we're just going to see guys figuring out kind of where they're at and then maybe make some moves later on.
Down the back straight away. We're happy that you're joining us here on a Tuesday night as we get set to kick off the Racecraft Outlaw Sprint Car Series here from the Volusia Speedway Park. Pace truck is down and into pit road. Leaving the hands of Alex Bergeron, jumps on the loud pedal. We are officially underway in your season opener. Bergeron with a close scrape that time by entering turn number 3 into the outside wall, allowing Clayton Tilley to throw the slider up into turn 2. Down the back straightaway, Bergeron crosses him over, and it's going to be slide job city off of turns 3 and 4. 3 wide for a split second, down for second place, and we're 3 wide still into turn 1.
What's interesting to me so far, Nolan, is that nobody's really committed to a single line. You see moves all over the place so far, really early on in this heat race. Nobody's really committing to that cushion yet.
Bergeron still scraping that outside wall off of 4, while Tilley and Forster duke it out amongst themselves. Berling just sitting behind, down to that 4th position in the 13th car, trying to throw his way through on the inside of the number 51 from Momentum Simsport. But so far, Clayton Tilley hanging on for second place. It looks like he has secured that spot, but already Bergeron clear by about half a second up in front with the heat race lead.
Well, when you blink and this heat race is almost already halfway over, Nolan, and still Bergeron able to get out to a very early lead. He's working that high line right up on that cushion, and he's almost surgical with the way that he navigates the car around there. But Tilley still has something for him. He's getting a little bit of run off of 4 this time.
He's got to contend, though, with Aiden Burlane, though, in the number 13A, and he is struggling at the moment as the 13th has really applied the pressure for second place. He wants to start inside line on the second row. It's going to be a crossover after crossover. Tilly gets the momentum for the over-under off of 4, sends it up the inside, but gets too far sideways, and that will allow Burlane to keep that one steady as we round through turn 4 with 2 to go.
Really good reaction there from Tilly there to stop the contact and just file in. He's still alive in this race for right now.
Still alive for now as he's looking to hang on to third. Looks like that's where he will stay. Burlane side by side with Bergeron for the heat race lead on turn number 4. This is to see who will start on the pole for the 35-lap feature later on tonight. Slides up and clears. Bergeron looking back to the inside. Can he make this one stick in 3 and 4? Slide it up. Here comes Burlane side by side. Drag race can't get there. Burlane will take the heat race win.
And Bergeron was trying to get all he could on that top line there, just able not to make it stick just the slightest bit, and that was the difference there that gave Berlin the win.
Official results of your first heat race on your screen, just 26 thousandths of a second separating Burlane from Bergeron, with Clayton Tilly breaking up third. Forster rounds out the technical transfer spots in fourth, with Sean Winkler, Matthew Lind, and Vinny Tigner bringing up the field. So that'll do it there for heat race number 1. Ian, why don't you take us through the starting grid for heat race 2?
Well, absolutely. On the inside pole, we have Ryan Avila in the 49. To his outside, Josh Edmondson, World Championship Dirt Road Racer there in the 58. Eric Whitner in the 71 will be in third with Ryan Hodge in the 6 machine in fourth. Danny H., the Australian, rolling off fifth with Evan McFarlane in the 04 and 6. And our final driver in our second heat this evening will be Dylan Baldwin in the 67 machine, Nolan.
7 more cars getting set to rumble away. Dylan Baldwin starting last place in your second and final heat race on the night. Was the only driver in your field to not set a qualifying lap. He did attempt to make a lap, but hit the inside wall coming out of pit road. That caused a reset, and he could not make it around on his first lap quick enough. So he's going to be starting at 7th place with a lot of work to do if he wants to keep himself from starting dead last in that feature event later on tonight. But for now, it'll be a good start for Avila, who will be starting inside pole for the second heat. This will be to determine how that outside row is going to sit.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Josh Edmondson up there in the 58, more known for the dirt road side of things, coming over here to the dirt oval side and really doing a good showing so far, especially in qualifying. Finds himself on the outside pole for this heat race and might be looking to mix it up with Ryan here.
Edmondson will definitely be looking to mix it up with Ryan for sure as we take you through turns 3 and 4. It'll be all about the launch, though. Can he predict it enough to keep the 49 at bay? The Speed Shop 51 machine will be in control. Pace trucks in, and we are back to green flag racing, and a crash already in the background as cars spinning around. Daniel H has been taken out of this race early.
Yeah, really unfortunate for H there. I'm not entirely sure who else was involved in that. I don't really see the 67 machine of Baldwin, but already Ryan Avila able to use that to his advantage, gets himself out to about a 5-car length lead here.
So it turns to a 5-car heat race. Baldwin and Aish both still in the 5, but they're well down the field at the moment. And in fact, Avila might even be catching his lap traffic here in just this 10-lap heat race, but we fire back down in the turns 1 and 2, and so far it's a good start for Avila. There you can see Ryan Hodge running in the number 19 car. He is currently sitting the lowest down in the field. Well, 19 on the car, scored as the 6th, as Ryan Hodge currently sits in that last theoretical transfer spot.
And you mentioned before we got started here, the second heat race, on how important timing the restarts were. Josh Edmondson wasn't able to quite time that start there. Now finds himself battling for third with Eric Whitner there.
Josh Edmondson, though, going to give Whitner a little bit of a break as he's going to get loose off of turn number 2. There you saw a slow and now a stop car at the bottom lane. That was Daniel H. was officially gone 1 lap down and has reset to the pits. He's going to resign himself to be starting last in your heat race in just a few minutes here as Ryan Avila continuing to pull away. It's looking like this might not be as close of a heat race as we saw in the opening heat race. Although I say that, there goes Eric Whitner with a huge send into turn 1.
Yeah, Whitner has been given a little bit of a challenge here to Avila, and Avila's had a few slip-ups, but it seems like every time he does slip up, he's able to correct really fast and get back to the momentum that he had beforehand.
On board with Whitner as he gets set to take it around with 2 laps to go. So far, Ryan Avila doing a good job running out there in the race lead, trying to see if he can hang on in the 51 machine as he'll continue to work his way around. 2 laps to go. Here comes Whitner seeking for the inside line on the slider down to the turns 3 and 4 for the race lead.
And Wittner able to make it stick there just a little bit, and he's going to be battling side by side now. Avila goes to the extreme high side now. Edmondson looking to challenge him here for the second spot, but it's going to be one more move here for Avila.
Chaney make it stick in 3 and 4, trying to get the run. Will not get there. Eric Wittner will hang on for heat race number 2. And in fact, Josh Edmondson just stealing second place away from Ryan Avila at the stripe by just 2/100ths of a second. Even closer to second and third than it was for the heat race win. For first and second place. So Eric Wittner will be your heat race winner with Josh Edmondson down in second. Ryan Avila brings up third. Ryan Hodges fourth. Evan McFarlane is in fifth with Dylan Baldwin in sixth. And Daniel Aish will be in 7th place. That was the results for heat race number 2. So, bit of warm-up here for these drivers before we get set for your 35-lap feature event. We'll take a quick step away. We'll be back with more, though, from Volusia Speedway Park in just a few moments.
UMP Modified DLC pack also features the Federated Auto Parts Raceway and I-55 and will be available for digital purchase on the PlayStation and Xbox stores this month.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Makoni Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Makoni Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Makoni Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MakoniSetupShop.com and learn why Makoni Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Makoni Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to virtual De Leon Springs in Florida to the Volusia Speedway Park. You're watching the season opener of Racecraft's Outlaws Sprint Car Series. 410 sprint cars running their way around the Volusia Speedway Park tonight. You've just missed 2 amazing heat races that have just flown by in the blink of an eye. And now these drivers get themselves those last couple minutes of warm-up set before we go racing for 35 laps here tonight. My name is Nolan Rappel with Ian Fisher beside me in the booth. Joshua Lee has been working behind the cameras from the start of tonight's broadcast. It's been a solid event then so far, Ian, relatively incident-free, but 14 cars, that's double the amount we had in the heat races, but should be just as entertaining.
Well, you mentioned it too. Those heat races went by in an absolute flash, and we're already here getting ready for the main event of the evening. And I think we're going to see a little bit of a difference, obviously, in demeanor between these two races. Obviously, this one's for all the marbles, but we're going to have a little bit more length as well. So when we get into this situation, you're going to see drivers be a little bit more passive up front, maybe not make as aggressive moves as we saw in the heat races, but definitely when it gets down to crunch time about 10 laps ago, we'll see that come out again.
1 minute to go before we get set for 35 laps of racing action, and it's going to be a fun race as well. The driver we thought might find himself on pole position, Alex Bergeron, of course, was pipped at the line in heat race number 1. He's going to have to start from third. Could be a bit of a workout there for Bergeron to work his way up. We talked about how passing is going to be a really big challenge for these guys here, and I think that is definitely something that we will have to continue to watch out for as we move on through tonight's race, as well as that the new damage ball. we almost forgot about to mention this, but they did put that new damage model on these sprint cars with the latest build. I haven't really seen them in play yet, but I can tell you right now, a lot of these drivers have been testing them out in the warm-up session.
Oh, especially in the warm-up session for sure. Fortunately, we haven't seen too much of it in our actual racing here tonight, Nolan. But yeah, a little bit of damage could make a big difference here this evening in our future races. So you really got to be careful with your car. You got to be conservative, at least in this first half of the race, to give yourself that position to go in and really battle in the second half of the race.
Before we get set for your feature grid tonight, the Racecraft Outlaw Sprint Car Series is brought to you by Makoni Setup Shop, the official setup shop of Rise Esports and partners with JR Motorsports. Makoni Setup Shop has the setups you need to succeed. From asphalt to dirt, Makoni Setup Shop has a professional team of builders for each series, whether it be street stocks at Charlotte or 410 sprint cars at Eldora, or hey, what do you know, Volusia. For pricing and plans, head to MakoniSetupShop.com today. Makoni Setup Shop. They're our setups, but your victories. We're going to set to run down for the starting grid for 35 laps from Volusia Speedway Park, and on pole position, it will be that of Aiden Beerlane with Eric Whitner down in second place on the front row. Alex Bergeron got tipped at the line last time by in third. He'll be sitting down in third position with Josh Evanson to his outside in fourth. Clayton Tilley is going to be in fifth with Ryan Avila down in sixth, Ian.
In seventh place, we'll find Adian Forrester in the 20 machine with Ryan Hodgen, the 6 to his outside. Sean Winkler rolling off ninth place in the 14 car with Evan McFarlane in the 04 to his outside. Matthew Lindy in the 3 will make up the 11th spot, and Dylan Baldwin in the 67th will be rolling off 12th, Nolan.
And that'll leave Vinny Tigner in 13th and Daniel Aish to bring up the rear in 14th place. Aish and Baldwin got tangled up before the green flag even over in heat race number 2. It would have been a case of Aish getting out of control, and of course Baldwin nowhere to go, ended the punt to the 33 hard into the inside wall. That pretty much ended the 33's day. He went a lap down, then opted to simply retire from your second heat race. So for Aish, it is going to be a really big challenge to work his way up to the field to try to score maximum points possible. I think the smaller field size, though, will help you, though, because this will mean you will come out with a decent points haul regardless of where you finish.
No, not only that, but I think that was a rare mistake we saw out of the 33 of Daniel Aish there. He is familiar with these sprint cars. He's raced them on the service a lot before. So I don't think it'll be something we see again, but you kind of mentioned it does give him more of a challenge. Another driver I'm kind of looking at tonight, too, is the 99 of Vinny Tigner. Very talented on the asphalt oval, now coming over here to the dirt oval. He is back there in 13th right now towards the back of the pack, but someone who, if they get to the hang of it, I could see them making a way towards the front, Nolan.
One lap to green before we get set to duke it out. The lights have just flicked on over virtual Volusia Speedway Park as Beerlane gets set to take us around to that green flag with the 51 esports machine of Eric Whitner on his outside line. Any favorites you'd have to say based on where our field sits currently coming on down into these opening laps?
You know, really, we mentioned how difficult it will be for Alex Bergeron to battle from that third spot, but I really don't think it's going to be as hard as we think it is. And we watched in the early heat race, too. He fell behind a little bit, was able to make his way back up to the front. He's my pick, at least getting to the front early, Nolan.
Pace Truck is down in A. Thank you once again for joining us here on a Tuesday night. The first feature event in the Outlaw Sprint Car Series on Racecraft TV underway as we hightail to turn number 1. As lap 1 is in the books, Aiden Beerlane currently holds the point, but he's got Eric Whitner pressure the inside line. They were almost 4 wide for the race lead down to turns 1 and 2 on that opening lap. Just there, Beerlane clears, and he'll be now running away with that lead off of turn 4 to lead lap number 2.
You said almost 4 wide. They were 4 wide there for just a little second there, Nolan, but especially on this initial start to this race here. Oh, Bergeron in the wall.
Huge crash. Alex Bergeron rolling wildly, and he's not the only one. Matthew Lind has gone out of the ballpark up on the top end. He'll have to jump it back down like a monster truck back onto the race course. Pace Truck is out, and Aiden Beerlane will be your leader scored at the line. We'll take a look at the Racecraft replay on this one. We'll start it off with Alex Bergeron. We'll check in on Matthew Lind in just a moment. Too close to the outside wall and just rode up and on it and just got caught in the wall. And right there, he got drilled. I'm not sure who it was, but he absolutely got demolished by one of the other drivers deeper in the field.
Well, not only that, there is another driver in the background there, too. I don't know if they're avoiding it. Yeah, the driver you see on your screen right there as well. But that was very interesting how Bergeron got kind of stuck in the wall there. He was trying to run the outside, like you said, Nolan, and then just kind of a physical glitch there almost.
And Matthew Lynn made the exact same mistake that Bergeron did. Just got up too close first with the outside wall. He went up and actually hit the outside catch fence as well. That just barely kept him in bounds, and Lynn lost the rear wing of his number 12 car. He's going to be pulling it down and in, and he will retire from this race. Of course, caution laps do not count in this feature event, so these drivers will be able to restart over coming to lap number 4. Beer Lane was the leader, last full scoring loop at the line, so he will be starting up on point. And I believe this will be a double file restart as we go 1 to green.
Well, there goes my favorite early, unfortunately. I guess the commentator's curse strikes again, Nolan.
I've had my fair share of those to the point where I was talking about somebody having a good race in about a 6-hour endurance race. As I was talking about him, he had a technical glitch and crashed hard into the wall.
It always happens, and we got to talk about him, so it's almost inevitable. But yeah, I do want to extend my deepest apologies to Alex Bergeron there if that was anyway my fault. But yeah, tough one for him early, not how he wanted to start the season for sure.
Pace truck is down and in. We're back to green flag racing as we get set to take it back down to turns 1 and 2. 3 wide for the race lead. A little bit of contact deeper in the field, but we keep it all straight. No caution. We're going to keep it going. Ryan Avila throwing to the inside, making the run for the race lead. Beer Lane up top. Hangs on through turn 4.
Beer Lane did a great job there. Avila was trying to push him to the outside, and Beer Lane didn't shake at all, didn't lift, and was able to keep the spot for the meantime. Avila was able to get to the inside of it this time, but Beer Lane's now taking the bottom line, trying to make it stick here out of 4.
Caution flag is out, and I think Beer Lane will once again hang on to the race lead. It's Daniel Aish going around for the second time, and no front wing anymore on the number 33. We'll once again take a look at the Racecraft replay and possible contact with Evan McFarlane. It was contact, head-on shot to the outside wall for Daniel Aish. It's bad news for McFarlane. He was already collected in the first caution. He was the driver that ran into Alex Bergeron as he was flipping.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate there. 2 drivers just coming together in the same spot, and I think Aish maybe thought he had just a little bit more room to slide up there, and they just happened to get together, and Aish definitely got the worst of that one.
And he was automatically reset back to pit road as he attempted to, or he almost vaulted over the wall like Bergeron and Winkler did early on. And Alex Bergeron back on the racing circuit, but now pulling off and retiring. I think he was trying to see if his car was in any shape to drive, but based on the angle we saw him as he was taking the wave around the field, I don't think it was.
That would have been pretty impressive. That would have been shades of like Bill Elliott making up, I don't know, what was it, like 7 laps under green or something like that at Talladega if Bergeron was able to pull that off. So yeah, you're probably right there. Nolan just came out and saw it was going to be a little bit too difficult and was like, I'll just call it a night early.
But you know what? I think what he might actually be doing here is hanging around in pit road there, and as drivers find themselves crashed out into pit road, he might just go out, log a lap, and just pick up another spot as the race goes along 1 by 1.
Yeah, well, playing the long game for points, why not? I mean, you do have that option here, so.
Lights out aboard the iRacing Pace Truck. We'll go green flag racing this time by. We have shrank down from about 14 cars to a good 12 now on the racetrack. Aiden Forster having a bit of a pushing match with Dylan Baldwin. And you can see
I was going to say, what's going on here? There's definitely something going on here.
Well, hopefully that doesn't escalate under green. We go back to green flag racing here, and it's a good launch this time around from Aiden Beer Lane, who was well clear of the field. They're 3 wide for second.
Avila with a great run to the outside here, down the backstretch, able to clear Tilly going into turn number 2. Not quite thinking about the move right now, but Beer Lane up in the wall a little bit is going to give Avila just a little bit more room to get to the inside. He'll try to go for the slider now, but just not able to make it stick quite enough. That's going to give a run there to Tilly, though, as they head into 3.
Avila working that bottom lane, but there's not a lot of grip anymore. That bottom lane has really been slicked off. And in fact, so is the middle portion of the racetrack. It is an outside groove now that these guys are having to work with. You're right aboard with Avila. There is Tilly really piling on the pressure right behind him in 3rd. He's got Eric Whitner fighting it out for 4th place as well. And so far, it is smooth sailing on this green flag run. There's a huge lunge. Avila sliding out, almost making contact with Beer Lane as he pushed up. Caution flag is out as it's another rollover for Clayton Tilly as he flew down the back straightaway.
Yeah, he was caught up in that little bit of the battle there, Nolan, and looks like, from what I saw out of my view over here, it looks like he got together and then was vaulted into the fence again. Let's see here.
Yeah, just got him and over on top of the concrete barriers there, and very lucky that nobody behind ran into him as he was tumbling end over end. Especially, I would say the two drivers most likely, Aiden Forster and Josh Edmondson, they had to scramble down to avoid him and missed him by inches.
Well, I was kind of surprised too, Nolan. I thought that I thought he would have help there, but he just self-spun all on his own. I don't want to say self-spun, but just kind of lost it there and got a little bit loose and caught those rocks like you said. But yeah, great job by Bergeron by Edmondson to avoid.
I agree. I don't think self-spin is the right word, but I think self-catapult. What do you think of that? It doesn't roll off the tongue as well, but do you think we could coin that term here?
I mean, why not? We have a whole season to do it, so I think we just keep, repeating it. It'll catch on eventually, right? I think that's how that works.
Tends to be more the case anyway, especially at tracks like the Chili Bowl. You find yourself more flipping on your own rather than spinning on your own. It's much harder to spin a sprint car without rolling it over as opposed to some cars, especially I would say the late models and potentially the UM. Well, I'm going to take that back. It is pretty easy to kind of flip the modified cars. Even the 358s can go over relatively easily. Lights out. 1 lap to green. Driver's going to stack it up, double it up. We're ready to go back racing. We've eliminated another driver as it will now be, I believe, down to just 9 drivers on the racetrack. Might actually be 10, though, now that I'm looking at it the second time.
Yeah, nothing coming from that little bit of a beef there between Baldwin and Forrester. They were giving each other bumpers there for the pace laps, but that might have been some friendly banter too, Noah. Nothing really came from it on the racetrack.
Pace truck is in. Here comes Aiden Beerlane checking up the field. Back to green flag racing. Lap number 10 now underway. As once again, there's the move for second place. Whitner taking a 3 wide up the middle. Here comes Ryan Hodge storming by on the top shelf. Whitner's going to clear though for third. And now Hodge firing it back down the inside, allowing the top 2 to break away.
And Forrester had a huge run off of the restart there. Hodge, though, was a little bit a little slow to get going, and he was caught up behind him. Now he kind of has himself filed in behind there with Hodge, and he's trying to make a run up here into this top 3, top 4.
We're now well into double digits on the lap counter as Eric Whitner trying to make the run on Ryan Avila for that second position. It's a good run so far. Avila sliding up.
Crashes back there.
Yeah, right into the tire bundles. That marks where one of the safety exits would be, as there's no way that he didn't ride up on something and end up into the wall. The only time you can end up there is if you end up going straight. We'll take a look at the Racecraft replay down the turns 3 and 4, and yeah, sure enough, back wheel hooks the wall, and he's just a passenger at that point.
Yeah, I saw it out of the corner of my eye there, and he was battling for position. Again, I don't think there was any contact that led to it, just racing hard and maybe biting off a little bit more than you could chew. With the cushion of this racetrack is all the way up against the wall. You can kind of see a little bit of it right there, as we mentioned, Nolan. So we're going to probably see more of that as the night goes on. Guys just trying to push that envelope a little bit more, and sometimes the envelope bites back, which envelopes can give you paper cuts. So there is that.
It's the paper cuts that seem to hurt the most, as you see that slickness on the racetrack pushing further and further up the racetrack, and that's part of what's contributing to all these incidents with the outside wall. Drivers are trying to stay off of that slick stuff as much as they can, and they're trying to maintain their grip closer and closer up towards that outer barrier, and it is not easy for these guys to do that, though, as it's such a struggle to keep your car in just that one little groove where you can run. It's almost kind of like a reverse Indianapolis. Over there, though, you need to keep it as close to the corner apex down low as you can. If you get anywhere out of the groove, well, you're sliding into the outside wall. Same deal here, except you're much closer to that wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just a whole different dynamic to dirt racing as well. And that's what kind of makes it interesting when we see guys like Josh Edmondson, the world championship off-road driver, coming over here and giving these things a try in the sprint cars as well, because there's so much in dirt racing that's progression of the track, progression of the racing surface. With these sprint cars here, I'm not sure if we're using the fixed setup or not, but you can even adjust that wing on the top to give you more or less downforce. It's one of the disciplines on iRacing I think has the most adjustment, Nolan, and you can really fine-tune the car to what you want. But not only that, you have to race with the dirt as well, as we go back to green flag racing here on lap 12.
Clear lane jumped that start fairly early, but no penalty for the number 13 car. He jumped before the pace truck and even made its way down into pit road, but it's a fine line of figuring out when you're allowed to make that move. He knows what that line is, and he's going to get himself out of 3 car lead as a result. Look out as Forster sliding it way out in the background down the front straightaway, but just saves in contact up to the wall. As Josh Jefferson, now he has to pedal it down to the turn number 3.
Incredible moves by all these drivers to keep it going straight so far. A whole bunch of contact there. Drivers almost all the way sideways. You saw Edmondson there able to hang on to it, and we stay green.
That has really spread out a good chunk of this field, though, so this could very much allow us to be able to have one of the longest green flag runs we've had so far tonight in this race, as Eric Whitner pressuring Ryan Avila for that second position, almost halfway through. He's running that inside barrier. His teammate Avila running the outside line, though, and Avila so far hanging on quite well for that second position. I think there's no grip anymore on the inside line, so it's going to be a bonsai move. We see drivers trying to really make the slider work.
And right now, you can just kind of see that Avila isn't really trying to make any of these moves that you see Whitner trying to make. He's just doing a really good job there of staying right against the wall of this racetrack, and you can see it's paying off in lap times and just the car length leads he's putting now on Whitner.
8 cars remain on the lead lap here as we tick it over onto lap 19 out of 35. We are past halfway, and we'll be coming to 16 laps to go this time by. Whitner to the inside, this time pokes the nose out in front, so he is still working the bottom and slowly pushing more and more of his car in front of Avila. Now he's going for the slider. Avila immediately crosses him over, though, down the curve back straight away, and he'll have that upper hand for the inside down to turns 3 and 4.
We mentioned how hard passing is all night long, Nolan, and this is what really makes it difficult. You can see in this battle right now between Avila and Whitner is that anytime that Whitner tries to go down and make that pass, yeah, maybe he's able to clear Avila, but Avila has so much more momentum right now from running that top line, able to easily just cross over again and get the spot back. But this time around, Whitner is able to hang on to it, and they're navigating around the lap machine there with Sean Winkler. So great job by both of those drivers battling in and out of traffic.
Split in the number 8, and they continue to go outside and inside as neither driver was willing to live for the lap car there. Avila will pull around the outside lane, though. At the end of the day, sprint cars love racing around that high side. You can carry so much speed around there, and I can tell you right now, Avila is making absolutely fantastic use out of that speed, as Ryan Avila will continue to power his way through on the high side and now has a solid gap over Eric Whitner. I think he's going to be able to take a breath and relax in that second position for now.
Yeah, he's just been really making no mistakes right now. The only thing that I saw was the last lap he touched the wall a little bit, but even then you see how much more momentum he has right now, and Whitner is really starting to fall off here in this battle.
I think Whitner has used up all the speed of the number 17, 51 Esports 410 sprint car as he's continuing to try to work his way around the top side. They're catching up to more traffic in the form of Matthew Lind, but Lind has stated before he's going to keep it down low. And there is your race leader, Aiden Beerlane, now running the inside line and really running the inside lane at that, potentially trying to conserve a little bit of fuel by taking the path of least resistance around the racetrack.
Maybe at this point, I think he's just settled into a good groove and knows he has some time, so maybe just no need to take unnecessarily risk at this point. Maybe just a line that he's comfortable with as well, but really just an all-night effort here so far from Aiden Beerlane already. Going out and got it done in the heat race and now leading here in the feature race, looking to sweep the whole evening.
It's not over, though. He is losing that gap to the race lead. Last time by, Ryan Avila was over 0.2 of a second quicker than Aiden Beerlane, and lap traffic's not going to help the 13 car here at all. Going to run to the inside line. It's got Vinny Tigger up on the high side. That gap closing down to 1.4 seconds, so it's closing. I don't think it's closing enough, though, for Avila to be able to catch him.
And we've seen crazier things happen in dirt racing right now, and Avila is ripping the wall as we speak, and that's what's able to get him with all the momentum from right now with Whitner Beerlane taking that inside line. It's allowing Avila to just keep running that outside and using that momentum to catch up to him, but he may be just out of time here. Let's see.
Did you see Avila there? He rode up over the back end of Sean Winkler and put himself into the wall. He was lucky not to ramp up onto it and copied the mistake of one Daniel Aish earlier on to find himself planting it into the tire barriers. 4 laps to go, though, coming to 3 to go now, and still fighting hard, trying to see if he can close that gap down, but 1.8 seconds he's going to need for Beerlane to make a monumental error.
Yeah, and that onboard shot, you can see just how close he is to get to the wall there and tapping it just a few times and barely just able to keep a clean race car right now and tick down these laps. You're going to be coming to the white this time, and I think it's all him unless he makes a mistake at this point, Nolan.
I agree with you on that one for sure, as Beerlane will take the white flag. Final trip around, just a half mile of racing left to go in your feature event tonight. Aiden Beerlane will cross through turns 3 and 4, dominates the 35-lap feature. He will win the season opener of the Racecraft Outlaws Sprint Car Series.
Really just a good run from him, too. Once he got into clean air, Nolan just didn't let anything affect him, didn't let lap traffic affect him or anything like that. Kind of ran an unorthodox line, but it worked out for him and able to come home in victory lane at the end of the night tonight from Volusia.
And Ryan Avila ran out of fuel on the last lap, was having to coast it around through turns 1 and 2 down the back straightaway at a snail's pace and got a little bit of a helping hand from fellow race driver Eric Whitner to help push him across the line. But that is such a heartbreak for Ryan Avila as he'll find himself finishing down last car on the lead lap. As there you have it, right there off of 2, ran out of fuel. There's just nothing you can do but watch the rest of the field fly around you at that point.
Yeah, it's just such a heartbreaking feeling, especially for him as well, battling for as hard as he did to get where he is, and then ends up 5th like that. It's really got to be disappointing for him. But come back next week and give it all a shot again.
We'll take a rundown of what your official post-race results look like after this one. Aiden Beerlane winning the race by 4.8 seconds over Eric Whitner. Probably would have been closer had Avila not ran out of fuel. Aiden Forster will be down in 3rd with Dylan Baldwin in 4th. Ryan Avila will be back in 5th place as the last driver on the lead lap. Vinny Tegner was 6th. Sean Winkler was 7th with Josh Edmondson in 8th. Matthew Lind and Ryan Hodge not finishing this race. They finished 10 and 24 laps down, respectively.
And rounding out the rest of your field, Clayton Tilley caught up in that early incident, 27 laps down. Daniel Aish also caught up in incident, 30 laps down. And then Evan McFarlane and Alex Bergeron, you remember that lap 1 incident they were caught up when, I'm sorry, lap 4 incident they were caught up in. They both finished 31 laps down on the evening.
Tell you what, it's not been a bad outing so far for Josh Edmondson, but he is absolutely going to be looking to do better after he's, of course, won the World Championship Series on Dirt Oval just a little while ago. But, of course, he finished this race way back in 8th place after he started 4th. So it was decent compared to some other drivers, but not the start that your world champion wanted to have for himself here tonight at the Outlaw Sprint Car Series. Port Royal, though, very different racetrack in comparison to Volusia, so he could be finding himself a better race come round 2.
Well, and I think that's the interesting and complex thing about the schedule that we do have this season here on the Racecraft Outlaw Series is that we go to all these different tracks, every single track that we have here on the service and iRacing. So, yeah, you kind of mentioned it. Some tracks, it's not going to be, it doesn't suit your racing style, but other nights you can go out and you can capitalize on it as well. And if you combine those with your drop weeks, and really kind of just go into that, I think you can make good hay here in your season standings, Nolan.
Well, we've got yourself the podium drivers to give us a chat here tonight, and we'll kick it off with race winner Aiden Beerlane, who dominated the 35-lap feature. Beerlane, why don't we start it off with that heat race? You ran down Bergeron and made the pass by just 26 thousandths of a second, and that very well could have been what translated into a race win for you here tonight.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It helps a lot to start on pole sometimes with these cars, and I think this race was no exception, and he was searching for a new line, and I kind of found something battling with Tilly and whatnot in the start of the heat race, so we were able to find something before he did.
So when you look through the feature event as a whole, obviously it wasn't always so secure for you. You found yourself kind of having to work a little bit for it in the early goings, as you had, of course, Ryan Avila really pushing to put you down out of the race lead. How did you manage to weather that storm, though, and come out on top of that fight for the lead there?
I think it's just surviving and trying to get... I just knew once I got a couple laps up to speed and got my momentum up, I'd be fine. We just kept getting so many yellows, which I think hurt me. And I think I was on the wrong line. Once I found the correct line, I think I, found another tenth or two and was able to pull away.
And of course, next race is going to be at the Port Royal Speedway over in just 1 week's time. It's a very different track comparison to Volusia. What's going to be the game plan coming into round 2?
Just hit my marks, just like tonight. Port Royal, unfortunately, isn't in the pro schedule, but still an amazing track, nonetheless. And just, practice for that a little bit and get ready for next week.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight then here, Aiden. Congratulations on the race win tonight, and best of luck next week in Port Royal.
Yeah, thank you.
That was race winner Aiden Beerlane taking the race win tonight by 4.8 seconds over second place driver Eric Whitner, who will join us from second place. Ian, you're standing by with our runner-up.
Well, Eric, it wasn't an easy night for you altogether. You really had to battle for, it seemed like, every single spot that you got there on the racetrack. And you find yourself in a position now where you're at P2 at the end of the night. What was it like out there for you? How was the battling out there?
Honestly, it was a lot of fun. Me and Ryan had a good battle going. I got up to him and then ended up sliding him 1 and 2. And then, unfortunately, the lapper came between us and he got around me. But regardless, he probably would have blown my doors off later in the race anyways. I couldn't figure out the top side, so...
Well, and it's kind of funny you brought up Ryan, because I was going to ask, he ended up running out of fuel, finishing 5th, gave you the second place finish here tonight. How close were you on fuel tonight?
I was about 1.3 gallons heavy. I ran 1 gallon more than he did. He was probably just flat out more around the top, honestly, because I ran more slider line and middle than he did.
Gotcha. Well, going into next week, are you looking to keep this momentum going? Or are you looking at a run for the championship, or is this just something fun you come out here and race with this group of guys every week?
Honestly, my buddy Paul invited me, and I got some of my teammates to come. So I'm looking forward to running possibly for points, but my main focus is just to have some fun on Tuesday nights and relax while doing pro quals and stuff.
Well, we appreciate you coming and taking some time up here in the Racecraft TV booth to talk to us, and go ahead and celebrate the win with you and your friends. All right, Eric?
Yep.
And that was second place driver Eric Whitner comes home tonight, and looks like you're standing by with the third place finisher Aiden Foster there, Nolan.
I sure am. And Aiden Forster, you went from 7th to 3rd over in the feature event. It was a fairly quiet heat race for you. You finished 4th there, but that'll translate to 4 positions better as you took the final podium spot in our opening race tonight.
Yeah, the car was pretty good at the beginning, just kind of settled in, and then under that caution, that one guy apparently thought he was supposed to start where I was, and he ran into my left rear, and it really broke it, and just the car just didn't handle like it should on that long run there, but we'll take a P3.
Of course, you were behind a lot of the early race melee, especially Alex Bergeron's wild wreck on the opening lap of the race. What kind of goes through your head? Because I know it's not like asphalt where you can make those quick corrections in these sprint cars. You're really committed to a line. So what happens when you see, a giant mess like that appear right in front of you?
Yeah, you just do your best to obviously keep your car clean and others clean, especially when you're going through a slick like that. It's tough.
And obviously, we got our thoughts from race winner Aiden Beerlane about Port Royal Speedway for race number 2. We'll see what your thoughts are as well. What's your take as we go into round number 2? You like the track, or is it one of those that you just can't wait for it to be over?
I don't really have a track I dislike. Kind of good at all these ones, so we'll roll with it and see where we end up.
Sounds like a plan. Just take it all in stride. Being fluid can win you races sometimes in sprint car races like this. Well, thank you for joining us tonight then, Aiden. Best of luck in Port Royal next week.
Thank you, guys.
And that was your third place finisher then joining us here from the virtual Volusia Speedway Park. And your last podium driver as well. Well, Ian, it has been a very quick broadcast tonight. I have to say, I think this has been one of the fastest eSport broadcasts I've ever done in my career. But hey, sprint car racing's like that. It can just fly by just like that. And you're never going to be in for a dull show.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's dirt track racing for you. We were talking about you blink and you miss those heats. Same thing when we were going through our feature race. It seemed like every time we had a green flag run, as soon as we blinked, that yellow came out again. And it really did slow the race down. But still, we came back to green flag racing. And especially that long run we had to the end of the night, really, you mentioned it, just a quick race. But that's what dirt racing, like you said, is like. And that's what these drivers have got to expect for the rest of the season. It's going to come at them fast. It's going to be aggressive. And they're going to have to manage that if they're going to be at the top of the podium for the championship of the year end.
I could wholeheartedly agree with you. It's all going to be about versatility. Dirt tracks might look the same, but they drive nothing alike. Port Royal is a key factor of this one. That banking is just a little bit higher, and it's a much more uniform shape around the entirety of the racetrack. Port Royal has long been one of those tracks that Sprint Cars has been famed for, and I think we're going to be in for a much more entertaining race there, even than what we saw here tonight, even though tonight's race was just an absolute barn burner. So Port Royal going to be an absolute joy as well for us to call just next week on the 8th of November. But for now, for the Volusia Speedway Park, that is about all we're going to be able to have time for one night. So thank you for joining us here on Tuesday night. You can join us next week, same time, same place, for round number 2 in the Racecraft Outlaws Sprint Car Series here on Racecraft TV. We'll see you next time.